So build, I've been waiting for build for quite a while. I think one of the things that I was really interested in is that, like, some of the new Copilot announcements and the AI capabilities that they're doing. A lot of things were like under NDA and we couldn't talk about it, and we really wanted to, but they're like, oh, wait for build, and now build. We've got all those really, really awesome sessions, and lots of new announcements that were done. I was really happy. Like I woke up at 4 a.m. I don't know if you guys did, but the first day was 4 a.m. Second day was 3:30 because Scott Guthrie had his session half an hour earlier. And I was trying to amplify some of the messages that they had. And I was really pleased that Charles Lamana had a good um, session, at the keynote. I think he had about 10 minutes, and he was talking about all the new things that are coming out. Um, and Build is mainly a developer conference, but it still has room for all that low code stuff that they're doing, and the really awesome stuff. One of the key things that I've noticed is that, like, even from Satya's session, moving on to Scott Guthrie and Charles Lamana, there was a lot of talk about memory, right? So AI now is not a thing that would remember maybe your last couple of interactions and move on. No, AI is part of the team. Copilot is another member of the team that can help you. So I wanted to just elaborate a little bit on that and then maybe have a chat about it. There is a 10-minute session, 10-15 minute between Charles Lamana and what's his name? Let me see. I probably have it somewhere in here, where they were talking about specifically, the AI and the Copilot capabilities. There you go. That's the one. So it's a conversation with Charles Lamana on building custom Copilot with Microsoft Copilot Studio. And one of the things that he was saying is that now Copilot is like another player working in the background. So how does that work? I don't know, Eliza, if you have some insider information or Shobit, but Cesc Juarez, I can't pronounce that, but they were,
Seth
yeah,
Juarez.
Juarez. Here you go.
Yeah.
So they were talking about AI working in the background, but to me, AI is always like Copilot, not autopilot. But if it's in the background, how can you copilot it if it's on autopilot, right? So, what is your thoughts on that?
Shobit, do you want to go first? I can go second.
No, you're going to go first, Eliza.
Okay. Ladies first.
Ladies first, yeah.
I find it interesting because it's no longer acting on behalf of a user. It's acting on behalf of a company, a department, or a team. And as you said, Rami, previously it was, working alongside you, but now it can work at all times, 24/7. I would say a joke, but I don't want to say it on record. But it's nice that it can respond to events in addition to, human requests behind the scenes. And I feel like we're gonna see more of it, because if you think about it, previously in the era of para-virtual agents, we had to build those topics. We had to think about the different types of intents that users would interact with the agent. And then now with generative AI, as in the first wave of Copilot. So this was when they announced it last year in November at Microsoft Ignite. We saw AI surface and it evolved into Copilot Studio, where it could ground itself in your data sources. But as you say, now we're going at the next level, which is, okay, you can still do that, but it's still going to be able to work behind the scenes and be able to perform actions based on what you've defined. And one of the things that I was impressed in this wave of AI for Copilot Studio was that even with your topic now, you don't necessarily need to add nodes. Like, it can still, like, Copilot as the AI fused into the topic, where it'll know what to do. You know, I don't know if some of you saw that part in the demo. So it was covered by Kendra and Gary. I believe it was Gary's session, or was it Dwayne's session? One of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I'll just hand over to you, Hamish, in a second. But I love the analogy that you did on PVA, Power Virtual Agent, and Power Automate. And I think this is a good segue to your topic, Hamish. But to me, like, it's almost like there was a light bulb when they were talking about, hey, you don't have to do those if-else statements, the way we used to do in the past and so on. Because to me, like, one of the pains of doing PVA is trying to think about the flow, like what are they going to ask, how are they going to branch and go back. And this is the current pain with Power Automate. Like, you do all door branches, this happens, and then you proceed in this path or that path. But now they're talking about those, what are they called, Hamish? AI flows.
Yeah.
They're insane, right? Like, it's this. I just wanted to add to what Liza was saying, right? There's this massive mindset shift of you telling it exactly what to do and what are the inputs and what it should be looking out for. The AI just goes, okay, I know this person's talking about something, and I'm now going to predict what is the next step I should do. And I mean, that's just, I'm still getting my head around that. It's mind blowing. It's so different to what we're used to doing.
Yeah, it's impressive. We're truly in the era of conversational AI, and it's not limited to Copilot Studio. It's now across the different products in Power Platform, and it's exciting to see where this is all gonna, bloom into.
Exactly, and I think people are embracing it. People are starting to use it into their day-to-day life, almost to the point where when you don't use it, you're like, oh, how did I do my work before? Like, this is so ancient. This is so, like cavemen doing that. So what you're talking about, Eliza, is that in the agent that they were talking about, like agent Copilot that runs in the background and does things for you based on events. And I love that. I'm thinking about it like a plugin or like a Power Automate, right? So, an event happens and then that triggers. Whereas the AI flow is basically you telling Flow what you want to do, and then it will go and figure out the branching and all of that capability. Is that correct? That's the differentiation between them.
Yeah, AI is when you're setting up the flow still, but you're configuring your flow through generative AI rather than setting all the steps. It just does it for like it's I've got to I feel like the Power Automate sizzle videos are like the best at the moment. Can I share the video? It's so good.
Yeah. I mean,
I love
it.
Awesome.
You want to try and share your screen? That's good.
I'll try to share my screen. Let's see how this goes. You need the sound as well, but I feel like Power Automate, the marketing team here have nailed it. It's so good.
I love the glass effect that they do in there. I think Christine is trying to introduce that part of her sort of things that she does for the community and the CSS and the Canvas apps and things like that. But in all those videos, it just looks so slick.
Can you see that? Can you see my screen?
Yeah, it says welcome.
Okay, welcome. Okay, let's go. Can you hear that?
We can hear it. Yep.
So pretty cool little video, right? And it went through pretty quickly, and it's kind of hard when you just watch it the first time. I've got like some slides from Build here as well. I just wanted to quickly show. But this is basically here. This is kind of the he's only showing kind of one snapshot in time, right? But here, this is the flow instruction. So you just kind of, it's just free text, and you give it this is a reference guide, your payment authorization guidelines. So it basically goes through and looks at the claim based on the guidelines, and then you tell it with just natural language, authorization decision is this, or it's this, and then it says send an email to this person, which comes from this person as the requester, create an approval. So all these, like, that would be like a big branched out flow normally. But you're just using this natural language, and then you've got these kind of outputs and inputs, right? They're not highlighted here, but you can find there's reasoning. Where is it? Somewhere in the text here, with the authorized decision and the reasoning as part of the instructions for the approval. So you can just, and then you connect this up here, right? So it's just a completely different way of viewing it. And then when you run it, it tells you what it's doing. It's got the run, and it tells you what it's thinking as well. Where is it? It's got like its thought process. This is what it did, but it's all in natural language. It's not you having to read through the steps and click into each step and see what it's done. It just told you what it's done. Pretty cool, I reckon.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And I think they highlighted something important in that video is you're still in control, right? So you can still see what it's doing, and then you can refine it so that then actually you can tune that message as well. Related to that, Hamish, I saw some announcements regarding the desktop flows. So they're introducing AI capabilities in there as well.
Yeah, I'm not a big RPA person, but again, this is super exciting. Like Eliza probably wants to put a hand up, but like literally you do a screen recording and you talk to it and you record your steps and it makes the RPA for you. Like it's just, again, I mean, Eliza, you probably want to add to that. I've watched the Sizzle video and I'm like, this is really cool.
Yeah.
But I haven't.
Just to add to that, RPA is a big thing. Like I would recommend everybody on this call to upskill in RPA. I think we're on the verge of seeing a big boom because, even with DXC and working with some of the Australian companies, they've got all those legacy, or not legacy, but competitors that are doing similar RPA capabilities, but they're super expensive. And now RPA, or robotic process automation, desktop flow specifically, is becoming the leader. And everybody has this Microsoft ecosystem. They're like, we want that. Can you help us? So I do recommend for everybody on this call to upskill in that space.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Eliza, show it.
I was going to say that the Sizzle video for that is an exact, and it's about taking your emails and putting your invoicing information into another system. I do that. It takes me like 2 hours, like a month to do my invoicing and reconciliation. I'm like, I need that now. And I've tried to do it with the old RPA, and it's been just so difficult to do because you've got to wire up everything exactly correct. And then if the UI changes, then it doesn't work. But this thing looks incredible. But I'll let someone else, go.
No, I agree with you, Hamish. I have been working with a lot of customers around this, as Ami said, right, with RPA capabilities, and the narrator has been quite useful. But as you rightly said, right, you need to be very precise with your clicks and moving around in the application, pixel by pixel, whether it's a web application or desktop automation. Now with these new AI capabilities that are being introduced around, you can narrate what you want, you can say what you want, and RPA will do it for you. I mean, that does sound quite incredible. I haven't used it so far, or haven't seen it in action, but it seems quite useful, and my customers will be really happy that this functionality is coming in.
Eliza, any insight on that?
Yeah, I do actually. First of all, totally agree with Hamish about when you want to extract it. It seems simple in the service, right? I want to extract information from this invoice that's a PDF file and enter it in my application of my choice. Currently today, there's two ways you can do it. There's a hybrid approach, which is using a combination of desktop flow and cloud flows, where you use AI Builder to train the model and across different invoices that you have, or the other method, which is pure RPA is to use a combination of regex expressions. There's a Microsoft MVP based in Denmark. I want to say his name is Hans Jensen. I don't know how to pronounce it properly because of their, the alphabets have a different pronunciation to ours in terms of English. Like he covers it. And when you watch that video, it's about like an hour-long video. I can share it in the link below in the message in the chat window. But, that's a lot of steps. But then as you saw in the sizzle video, you can now, as Shobit mentioned, you can now narrate it and tell it what you want to do. The other thing I do want to mention is that next week there is an episode, and it's my official debut on the Microsoft Power Platform YouTube channel, where I will be showing 2 use cases with Power Automate for Desktop using Copilot. It isn't what they refer to as the AI recorder. I'm hoping that will be the next episode, so watch this space. But the one that I am showing is Describe with Copilot. And so that's pretty much just entering a prompt. So let me see if I can share a screenshot with you. I took it earlier today. Here we go. So the episode will be in regards to this feature. I'm just pasting it in the chat window, the Describe with Copilot. And yeah, I'm super excited for you guys to see the 2 use cases.
Nice.
So we'll watch this space.
That's really nice. Eliza, just conscious of time, you've got 10 minutes before you have to leave us.
Yeah.
Do you want to take the stage and cover the bits that you were excited about?
Well, one thing I do want to share, and I'll put it in the chat, is another Microsoft MVP, and he was actually at the Digital Workplace Conference in Christchurch, Vlad. He posted a video, and it's a 5-minute video of what happened at Microsoft Build. So let me just find that now.
Okay.
But other than Copilot Studio and what we talked about in terms of AI-led automation in both Cloudflows and in Power Automate for Desktop, I tuned into both Leon's session. So that was in collaboration with what's the name of the customer?
Was it a customer success session?
No, it was a Power App session, and it was Leon and
let me see if I can find it.
Basically they were there was that session. So they're both Power Apps, as in Canvas app sessions. That one was with Leon and the customer. I think Cineplex was a customer, possibly, or Lumen, one of them. And then the other session that dived more into detail was Clay and Emma Cooper's session on Power Apps for Canvas apps. And it was really cool. So basically they've introduced the source code where you can view the Canvas app source code in YAML. So for those who attended the local Wellington Power Platform boot camp event was it February, Rami?
Yep.
I showed how you can edit your Copilot using YAML, and that was by downloading the solution package using Power Platform CLI, Pack CLI, and then, doing a sync with it as well. So they've also introduced that in Canvas apps. So you now have the ability as a developer to be able to download the source file over Canvas app, copy any snippets, because YAML, it's a nice structure, and then share that with any other dev that want to paste it back into the Canvas app, or even someone who's not a dev. So in that session, they demoed that. So I believe it was, pretty sure it was Emma who presented that segment, where you could just copy a snippet of the code and then go back into the Canvas app designer and then just right click and paste, and you would see it. And so the component that she used, I believe, was the header, like changing. Was it adding a button or changing the color? One of them, and then she also added buttons, and then in real time you can also collaborate with a colleague. So this is when Clay was doing his demo, and then Emma was collaborating on the side with him, and so basically saying like, can you update this button to look like this, and then do these types of changes. It was just great. So you actually now have a working together experience in Canvas apps, whether you're a low code maker or a code first developer. So it was really cool seeing that together. Yeah.
The same demo was done by Marcel in Scott Duro and Marcel's session. So he did it live. So I just pasted the link to that session, and it was really incredible. Exactly as you described it. He took a snippet from somewhere on Teams, for example, from a chat, and then it was YAML code, right? And then he pasted that in the Canvas Studio, right? And then it did the UI stuff and added all the components and so on. So that was absolutely amazing. I think I'm a big fan of Scott, and his session was like, Scott to a T, right? So he started with, an awesome story. He got cheers and claps and all of that. And I even I quoted something. I actually downloaded the transcript because I wanted to have a look at something that he did. So as you guys know, Scott has green hair now, and then it was part of the, what was it, colorful conference or something like that.
Color Cloud.
Color Cloud, yeah, that's the one. And then he said, with all those new AI capabilities, they change as often as I change my hair color. And he got laughs and all of that. Like, it was really awesome. But yeah, they did that demo in there where they were doing the YAML capability. And that's because Marcel it's his baby. So all the YAML editing capabilities, he's the PM for that, and he's looking after it. So definitely worth watching. I'll come back to that session in a second. But that's a good segue to like moving away from the AI and the pure build, hardcore developer stuff, and then focusing more on some of the low code stuff. And I know, Nathan, you're a big fan of all the Power FX capabilities that are being released. So just as a summary, so far, where can we use Power FX? I'm putting you on the spot, but I know you know them all by heart.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I don't have our Stegosaurus of PowerFX graphic handy that you and I have presented before, but it started life in Canvas apps.
Yeah.
It then moved to the model-driven app with modern commanding and custom pages. It then moved to Dataverse with the calculated columns and low-code plugins, and the CLI, and it's since moved on to Copilot Studio and desktop flows. So it's really just proliferating across the Power Platform. And then the big announcement that we got at Build that kind of slipped in under the radar because it's not quite as sexy and cool as the Copilots, but it's coming to Power Pages. And so I shared this in the Auckland user group yesterday. I think this is actually a huge deal. Like, this is a much bigger deal than, I think a lot of people are kind of giving attention to it, because when you think about it, Power Pages is one of the fastest growing parts of the Power Platform. I can't think of a single project I've ever been on that hasn't had some kind of Power Pages component, because that's just the world we live in today. And Power Pages, I call it the Power Pages conundrum. It is simultaneously the most low-code part of the Power Platform, and yet in practical terms, it is the most pro-code part of the Power Platform, because you can literally, with a few clicks of the mouse, you can get a portal and bring in Dataverse data and all of that, except the second you put it in front of clients, they're like, I love it, just change everything about it. And suddenly we're customizing liquid templates and writing JavaScript, and, so I'm really excited to see PowerFX come to Power Pages. So what I saw at Build, and I mean, details are pretty scarce right now. So I think, Rami, you and I are going to have to start getting hands-on with this and putting it through its paces to kind of work out. But what I saw, I think, is probably going to mostly replace or start replacing custom JavaScripting that we do in portals today. So I don't think it's going to take the place of the liquid template customization yet. But just the ability to have a maker or a functional start to create some of these custom functions and behavior that we need on the client side in the portal is a huge step forward. And I said this with low-code plugins. I'm going to say it with Power Pages. Watch this space, because I think we saw just rapid development over the last 12 months since low-code plugins were announced. I think we're going to see something similar with Power Pages. I think we're going to see it rapidly
absolutely
scale.
I did watch the portal session. I'll try and find the link for it. But you're right. I mean, there was so much content in there, and then they just mentioned like that Power FX stuff. And it just slipped in there. I'm like, out of all of that, like, to me, this was a very big, important announcement that they should talk about. They talked about, I think, the WAF changes. They talked about the connecting to external sources, virtual tables, and so on. So there's quite a lot of content, but that Power FX stuff and the low code, I think, is really good. So I had that conversation with you, Nathan, in the past, but like you're right. It's Power FX. I feel like it fits within a small context, like a small JavaScript, a small, this happens, then go and do something else. Same thing with low-code plugins. So many times did we create legacy workflows, did we create Power Automates, did we create plugins, and all they do is just, like a small paragraph. And I'm like, man, if only we had low-code in there and then be able to do that. And then low-code plugins came in. I'm like, sweet. Like, so many of our Power Automates are basically just two statements. Like, if this happens, update that value and then exit. And it's such an overkill. But then to be able to do it in low code is awesome. And same thing goes with Power Pages now in the JavaScript. Like, do you agree? Is that your thought as well?
Yeah. So my thinking is, I mean, anything that starts to replace custom coding with stuff that we can do low code is a win. From the standpoint of it's going to make it faster to deliver, it's going to be cheaper. It truly starts to realize that low code vision. It makes everything from ALM easier, and just to the resources that you can put on the project. You can have a maker, you can have a functional start to work on this stuff. Whereas today you're pretty much restricted to architects and technical consultants when it comes to a lot of the Power Pages implementations that we're doing. So so I think this is like, it's I think this is the biggest deal out of build that everybody missed.
Yep, absolutely. To be honest, I wish I had infinite time to upskill, because I want to upskill in RPA, I want to upskill in Power FX, and I want to upskill in AI and Copilot capabilities, because all of those have a tremendous future and they have lots of potential. And it's good to master them, because I think they will come in handy, and you want to be on top of it. But man, so many things coming out, and so many things that you have to be selective, right? You can't do everything.
100%. And I think as professionals in this space, I think where we're really going to have to start putting some thought leadership in is around, when do I use these things? Because with Copilot Studio, with the intelligent agents that can just go off and do stuff, they don't need a user to go prompt it. You could start to use Copilot Studio as an orchestration engine for stuff that's going on in your environment. And so now the question becomes, okay, when do I use this versus Power Automate? How do I have them interacting with each other, when and why? And that's where I think as MVPs, as members of the community, we really need to start putting the thought leadership in there, because that's where we're going to add a lot of value.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about thought leadership, let me share some of the stuff that I've been working on. It's in relation to the session that I pasted with Marcel and Scott Duro. So one thing that they mentioned, and it was It was almost like a 5-minute segment, really short, really straight to the point. But they were talking about the new Git integration between your Dataverse, your solutions, and your Azure DevOps, right? So I'm just quickly going to share my screen and show you. Now, I was a bit reluctant to share it because this is under NDA, but hey, they did it in public, so I'm not I'm not doing something that I'm not supposed to be doing. So let's see.
And Elijah's left the call, so we're all good.
Yes, exactly. I don't know what I'm sharing. I'm probably sharing the wrong screen. Give me a second. Right, what do you guys see? Oh no, I'm sharing this one. Okay. All right, so hopefully you guys can see my browser.
Yep.
Okay, so what you see in here is an environment that I have connected to GitHub, right? I'll see if I can actually go back to the basic maker experience. But as you can see, there's a new button in here called Git Connection, right? This is in private preview right now. They did demonstrate it, so that's why I'll show you at a high level some of the capabilities that it's capable of doing. But there's an app store solution that you can go and install into your environment, and soon that will be part of the solutions that are available out of the box. And then that gives you the capability to integrate your solutions with Git. So if you go into one of the solutions, so for example, this one, second solution that I've gotten here, you will notice that under the pipelines, you've got a new location called source control. And when you click on that source control, you'll be able to add components into your solution and click on commit. And that will take your changes straight away into Git, into your Azure ADO source control capability. So just to demonstrate how it works, I'm going to go and add, for example, a new environment variable, let's say. So let's go there, create an environment variable, give it a name, sample1, for example, and then data type is text, click on save. So now I've added a new component into my solution. And then out of that, I'm going to now jump into that source control location, and I'm going to say commit. So the moment you do that, it goes and checks what is new in the work that you've been doing. And it notices that, hey, there's a new environment variable, which also updated the solution because now the solution needs to have a reference back to that component. And I click on commit, new environment variable. And then when I click on that button, it's actually taking it into Azure ADO. And then you'll be able to go into ADO and then see the changes in there. So gone are the days when we used to download a solution, unpack a solution, commit it into our source control. And then when you want to deploy, you package the solution again, and then you upload that solution into your environment. Now you can do that through source control. So if I go into my repository, this is the environment that it's connected to. And part of the commits, you're going to see new environment variable that is done right now. And then if I go into the files, you will see the file structure in here. So all the solutions will be under a specific folder, and then you'll have all the different components, very similar to the pack-on-pack capability, but it's out of the box happening right now. So just connecting straight there. So really exciting stuff, still in the private preview bit right now. So I don't want to talk too much about it, but this is where Marcel actually demonstrated that capability. And then he went into the YAML section and he started editing his canvas or copying and pasting a section of his canvas and then pasting it back into the parent canvas app and being able to share some of those fragments and so on. And that would give you version control capability, but it will also give you a developer first approach. So you don't have to only use the UI. You can actually use your files, using VS Code or some other capability, check that, commit that, and then synchronize it with your other environment. And I think Eliza did a demo a while ago using the Pack CLI on downloading the Canvas YAML, updating it, and uploading it back. All of that is now becoming a bit more seamless and integrating with your entire solution. So I see that as a big win, as a big advantage for all of us. For people that were lucky to actually attend Build, Sean MacArthur and Casey Burke, I think, they both did. They did 2 sessions, 15-minute sessions, where they demonstrated all of that capability. A dedicated session for that. But unfortunately, it's on the list, but it's not recorded, so I couldn't watch it myself. Eric Renier, who used to be in New Zealand, went and attended the conference, and I'm like, please go and have a look at that session and tell us what they've covered. So that was really good. So imagine, Nathan, being able to download that, have your PowerFX in those file fragments, and then using VS Code with support of autocomplete and highlighting errors and things like that, updating your PowerFX and then uploading it back.
It's the dream.
Exactly.
Rami, in the past few months, you have turned me into a total VS Code CLI fanboy.
Here you go.
I'm using it almost every day, and that would be the dream.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely lots of potential in doing all of that. So yeah, I pasted the session with Marcel and Scott, and they're definitely worth watching it. The other thing that the other thing I wanted to paste in there is, and something that I probably should have highlighted at the beginning, every year when they do Build, when they do Ignite, they release the Book of News. The Book of News is basically a summary of everything that is going to be announced and some recommendations on what are the sessions that will be covering those bits. So I've pasted that in there. You can go to the link, or you can, I think, download the PDF as well and then have a look at everything else that might be included at Build. So going back to Copilot, Shobit, was there anything you wanted to add or to show us from what Eliza covered?
Yeah, not from a showing perspective, but yeah, definitely to sort of add on to what Eliza covered, right? The major themes from Microsoft right now, from investment perspective, are around adding these agent capabilities and adding extensions, but also how to make the maker experience better and at par with other capabilities in Power Platform. So, for example, now the whole UI of Copilot Studio has been modernized, and it has more sort of fluent maker experience. I like that quite a bit. The whole navigation has changed. If you see now, it's less clicky. Everything is in one place. So you have your Copilot, and then you have all your knowledge, analytics, where you want to deploy your channels, and everything is in one place. Before, you have to go out of the Copilot and click on a separate link on the left-hand side and then deploy or find channels from there. Now it is all within the realms of the same Copilot itself. The other thing that I really like is that there is Copilot for Copilot now. So you can now describe what you want from your Copilot. You can create instructions on how you want to design your Copilot. You can sort of set its tone, like how your Copilot should interact with your end users. And you can also set boundaries. You can say what Copilot should not respond to, right? So you can ground your Copilot into your data sources or your knowledge sources like SharePoints and OneDrives. And now even Dataverse has been introduced, and I think Fabric is going to come next. But you can also tell Copilot what kind of questions you should not respond to, right? So for example, you can tell Copilot, okay, if people are asking questions about, let's say, pricing, we don't want to answer questions about pricing or quotations, for example. So you can ground your Copilot into those things as well. So some of those announcements I really like, which is about building the Copilot itself.
Yeah. Absolutely. I feel like there's a meme coming when you say, I'll actually stop sharing. When you say Copilot for that builds the Copilot. So what? Yeah. Your dog, the Copilot that can build the Copilot. But yeah, that's really interesting actually, and I really like the enforcing a limitation, right? Because a lot of things that people worry about is that, is it going to give wrong advice? Is it going to go on a tangent that we don't want it to go there? So when it ever comes to legal questions or, liability and things like that, you would rather have someone answer those questions or at least review the questions rather than just rely 100% on Copilot doing that capability. When you talk about changing the user interface so that it's less clicky and better organized, that's, there's no doubt that Microsoft is putting a lot of investment in there, absolutely. But what I want to say is that it's like me when I write my code. I write the code the first time and I'll go, it's not good enough. And then I refactor it. And then I'm like, no, I can make it better. And I refactor it. So they come up with the user interface, and then they go and enhance the user interface by, looking at telemetry, number of clicks, inspecting how people are using it, and see where the important things are and how to update them. I remember we once had a session a long time ago where someone was talking about the new ribbon that was introduced in Word. And to us, it was new, like, from going the usual menus going down, and now there's a ribbon. And then it took us a while to get used to it. But then once you get used to it, and then you see an older version, like 2003 or something, it's like, oh man, this is terrible. How did I do my work? So same thing with, enhancements to Copilot and so on. No, that's really good. All right. I think we covered the majority of the stuff. So just to sort of summarize, and then I'll open it to everybody if there's something else you want to talk about. But there's obviously lots of conversations about Copilot, but the key thing was around Copilot in memory, agents, and then Copilot working in the background, Copilot being part of a team. So that was a big part of all the announcements that they were doing. There's another talk about, the AI flow and then the desktop flow enhancements that they're introducing that go hand in hand with some of those Copilot capabilities. Enhancements to Power Pages, including in Power FX and Power Pages, and using that as, becoming the standard moving forward. And then some, pro code capability, because at the end, build is more, aimed at pro code developers, but talking about the source control integration, and then the YAML capabilities of editing your fragments and being able to do that, as a dev-first experience. I think that's Ryan Cunningham, I don't know if he had a session at Build or was part of a previous conference, but he always talks about why do we say, I'm a citizen developer or I'm a pro code, like, where do you draw the line, right? So in the project that I'm working on right now, we say that if you want to build a Power Automate, this is a dev-only task. This is not a functional task, because to understand Power Automate, you need to understand connections. You need to understand, how to retrieve the data. You need to understand the plugins that are running in the background. So that goes more in the development side of things, not necessarily like schema editing and things like that. So it's really interesting that it's not you're here or you're there. It's almost like a continuum, and it's almost like you just know more or less of whatever is in there, and then you're proficient in this or proficient in something else. So yeah, that was the summary from my perspective, and I'll open it to the floor if there's anything else that I missed. So maybe starting with you, Hamish, was there anything else you wanted to cover?
No, can you guys hear me? I had to switch headset off.
All
okay,
good.
Cool. Yeah, the other Power Automate thing was the Power Automate's was it Automation Center? Basically, I don't know if you guys have seen, it's been out for a little while now. They've added Copilot into that, so you can chat to Copilot about, what flows are failing the most or whatever, right? And so it's got Copilot over that data, but that Automation Center is pretty awesome, right? Like, I went into a client who I probably hadn't touched for a little while the other day, and it's like, oh, there's a few things I need to sort out here. But it's just really good to see that one single pane inside of an environment of here are all your flows, and then it goes, okay, these ones are failing, and it just gives you a list of like all of the failures log, and then you click on them and it tells you exactly what's going on. It's pretty cool, and then just to be able to see like how much people are using the system, across all of your flows. That's a bit of a game changer, I think, if you're someone who is helping clients with, or you're managing Power Automate yourself in an organization. That's a huge thing to go have a look at, and to check that out if you don't use it already, because it's super powerful.
Absolutely, and I do agree with you. I was having that conversation with a colleague the other day, and we think Copilot and the AI capabilities have a huge place in reporting and analytics and in monitoring as well, right? So it's good at doing the mundane stuff of formatting and then gathering the right information and then collating it all and giving it to you. So you just tell it what you want and it'll give you the responses back. So absolutely, I see a lot of value in doing that for sure, 100%. Cool. Nathan, anything else you wanted to cover?
Did anyone else notice that Microsoft is really starting to change the language around Power Platform? And I can't remember if this is coming out of Build or coming out of some of the videos I've been watching of Steve Mordew and Andrew Welch and some of those other guys, but they're really starting to change the language and kind of move away from maker citizen dev much more towards pro dev with Power Platform. And so it's really interesting to see them trying to take it into the hands of the pro devs. So
yeah. You're right. You're correct. In fact, on the 6th, which I believe is next week, I'm having a session with Mark Smith. So I'll be on his show. And the topic is mega apps. So building mega apps on the Power Platform. And specifically the projects that I've been involved in, such as the passport services and citizenship, and basically providing services to an entire population, right? Those are massive applications. I mean, we've been on the news, right? So they're saying, we're not processing enough applications. They're processing 2,000 passports a day. That's an insane amount, right? And that's across the globe, right? And then you've got an equal amount, or actually less now, that are coming in. So they're keeping on top of that. And if you extrapolate that over a year, you just have like shy of 1 million applications submitted. So it's actually 100%. It's an enterprise capability. And yes, you're 100% correct that it had that perception that the Power Platform is those little craplets, little things that people build and they're low code and they don't scale and all of that. But the moment you open the Pandora's box, you realize it's a platform and it's capable of scaling at a very, very big perspective. They even talked about Power Pages scalability in the session that I pasted in there is definitely a enterprise capable solution and platform with lots of potential.
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to watch, and I guess some of us, and by some of us I mean myself, will definitely have to start changing the language we use and how we describe what we do and what we build, because it's swinging away from kind of that citizen dev.
Yep. Absolutely. All I can say is that we're in the best industry at the moment. We have the best skills in there. So I always say that, but I am blessed to be part of like the dynamics and Power Platform, capabilities and be an expert in that, because it keeps getting better and better. Absolutely.
I can't believe I get paid to do this all day. So
I know. This is like when I got my first job, I'm like, I do it for free, and now you're paying me to do that. Yeah. I'm absolutely in, 100%. Awesome. And now, Shobit, do you have anything else that you want to add?
No, nothing else from my side. I think the announcements were as sort of expected, a lot around Copilot and AI capabilities. So not really very surprised. And I think more and more will come in that direction in the future. And how all the other components are sort of coming close to each other in terms of connectivity as well. Like you have Copilot Studio, and then you have Copilot for each of the different components, and they're enhancing capabilities for each of different Copilots as well, whether it's Power Pages for makers, or Power Apps for maker, or a Copilot for users for Power Apps as well. So each of the Copilots have capabilities which are getting enhanced. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And that consistency, I think they talked about it from the early stages, that the foundation is the same. And that's why they can scale really quickly, and then they can reuse some of those capabilities and enable it here and there and over there. So that's really cool to see that, and that there is consistency in the way they deliver it, and they all talk to each other. So that combination is now becoming key part of the bit. As you mentioned, like you can get to Dataverse, you can get to some knowledge base, and soon you'll be able to do fabric as well. It's great to see all of it coming together. That's really good. All right. Well, I think that's everything that I wanted to cover. I don't know if there's anything else that we missed, but yeah, feel free to just add the comments into the chat. I wasn't monitoring the chat, but I did see a bit of activity. Was there any unanswered questions that we have to address, or otherwise feel free to unmute yourself and ask?
I think we've got all of them, Rami.
All right.
You guys, Sarah?
I'd like to ask a question about the pipeline, the Git integration that you showed. So would the idea be that you then, so it cuts out the code commit pipelines, but you'd then do your build pipeline and release pipeline for migrating to test and test and prod?
Okay. All I can, it's like, borderline NDA, but so far the preview that I'm part of is just the commit, right? So we've got a one way, this is a solution, this is a branch, push your changes in there. We haven't looked at the rest of it, and it's coming in, in due course. So the deployments and the pipeline integration and all of that is still a work in progress, and I don't want to talk too much about it. The reason why there's not a lot of talk about it is because there's so many different ways of doing it, and the private preview is the program is specifically there to discuss those options and to decide whether they're going to do it this way, that way, or give the users the option to do it in whichever way works for their organization. So that's something that will be coming. Shobit?
Yes, I just wanted to add one thing. It's not a build-related thing, but it's something that's recently happened. So remember, Microsoft launched process mining as a GA capability 6 or 7 months ago. And within 6 or 7 months, we have been identified as one of the leaders in the latest Gartner survey. So that is a huge accomplishment from a process mining perspective. And again, just as you said before about RPA, I would really sort of recommend everybody to sort of get an understanding of how process mining works and where it can be utilized, because it is an amazing capability, and it requires very little Power Platform support to get started as such on your enterprise, activities and logs to understand how your processes are behaving.
Absolutely. Thanks for that, for Shobit. So Sarah, just watch that space, and then we'll give you more information as it becomes available.
Thanks, Ram.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for attending. I don't want to keep you any longer for the long weekend. Hopefully you have enjoy all the sales and celebrate the King's birthday. But otherwise, we'll see you in the next session. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks,
Awesome.
everyone.
Thanks, Rami. Thanks for organizing, mate.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
See you later. Bye.